Madhu embraced her arms around Bree's neck and smiled, looking at her. Bree smiled back, sighing and staring at her. "I missed you, love," she whispered. Madhu smiled and muttered, "I missed you too, my love," and without wasting any time, they kissed each other. It was a long, passionate, love-filled kiss after a long time. "Why didn't you tell me you are coming here?" Madhu muttered after kissing her in her embrace. Bree held Madhu's open waist in that half sari. As always, she was mesmerized by the beauty of Madhu in that Indian dress. She kept on staring at her gorgeous wife by caressing her waist. Madhu felt hundreds of butterflies in her stomach with that love-filled stare and touch of her darling. She stared at her blue eyes, which always melted her heart. After a while, to remind her question again, she patted her by flaring her eyes in fake anger and asked, "Answer me." Bree pulled her close, smiling. "Simple, I wanted to enjoy this surprised happiness on your face," she said with a peck on her lips. Madhu pushed her away, blushing. "That's why your phone wasn't on. I have been trying to call you since last night. I got so scared. Do you know that?" she mocked. "Madam, no network comes 35,000 feet above sea level," Bree smiled. Madhu squeezed her eyes. "Now, no more questions. First you come here. I am loving your shape in this dress," saying Bree pulled her close by holding her waist, pushing her up against the wall. She kissed her again. Madhu also kissed her back. In the middle of that passionate kiss with biting the lips and roll of the tongue, Madhu whispered, "I love you." Bree stared at her, smiling. "I love you too, wifey. By the way, you are looking stunningly hot and sexy in this dress," saying she kissed her neck. With those soft lips touch on her neck, Madhu got provoked, whispering, "Oh, I missed you, baby," she moaned. Bree pulled her close and kissed her again. Madhu surrendered herself as always before the love of her sweetheart. A sudden knock on the door distracted them from their loving moment. Madhu got separated from Bree, who released her with a smile. Madhu looked at herself in the mirror and corrected her clothes, hair, and lips. Bree gazed at her by tying her hand, leaning to the wall behind her. Madhu blushed with her stare and went to the door and opened it. It was a servant on the door holding the trolley of breakfast and coffee for both of them. The trolley was full of South Indian and Western breakfast items like idli, vada, chutney, sambar, bread, toast, butter, plain sandwich, a kettle of coffee, accompanied with a cup of milk and a bowl of sugar. The servant asked, "May I serve the breakfast, madam?" "It's all right. I will serve. Thank you," Madhu answered him gracefully. Our family already had several servants at home for cooking and other chores, but they hired top-class waiters and chefs to prepare all kinds of dishes and serve the guests at home for that special occasion. Vanilla followed the servant to host the special guest of that day, Bree. "We have organized breakfast according to Western style for you. Do let me know if you like anything else. We will get it done as per your wish. Feel at home and don't hesitate to ask anything you like," she said to her. Looking at Madhu, "You people have breakfast. After that, you go with her to the hotel for her checkout. I will also ask any one of your brothers to go along with you both," she said in her mother tongue. "Well, I was thinking you all are busy in the function. It is all right. I will stay in the hotel," Bree said in a humble way. Madhu got amazed to hear that. She looked at Bree. Vanilla said, "No, you are our special guest and you are a friend of Madhu. Our country, our city, everything is new for you. You stay along with us." Looking at Madhu, "Anyhow, our princess's room is all yours," she smiled. Bree also smiled mischievously hearing that. She said to Madhu in Telugu, "She is new to everything here. It is your duty to take care of all her needs. Do let us know whatever she wants. Madhu thought about several things, hearing her out, and blushed looking down. Vanilla smiled, ignoring her blush, as she knew Madhu is always a shy girl whenever guests come home. Bree felt happy with the hospitality of her in-laws. She smiled and accepted Vanilla's gesture. When she went, Madhu asked why she refused to stay in her home. Bree answered she was feeling awkward staying in a house full of relatives in that grand function. What if her room was also shared with some of the other relatives? Madhu knew Bree's modest nature. She said, till then, she never shared her room with anyone but her, so don't worry about that. They had breakfast after that. Vanilla called Charan back home to accompany and help Madhu and Bree to the hotel for her checkout. Bree and Madhu were waiting for him near the lawn when Charan drove his car. Instantly after getting out of the car, he got stunned by the beauty of Bree. Madhu introduced Bree to Charan and he shook hands with her. He didn't even blink his eyes before Bree. She smiled with a heart looking at Madhu's favorite brother. She knows how many times Madhu praises, respects and talks about Charan. All these 6 months, if Madhu spoke about anyone, it is you. Nice to meet you, Charan. Bree smiled. It was a pleasant surprise. I'm happy to meet you too, as Madhu talks only about you. I have seen your pictures of Vegas trip from your college, Charan amazed. Bree smiled, gazing at Madhu, recalling their Vegas trip. But Madhu got tensed as she lied to all in her family that she went to Vegas on a college trip. Are you going to talk about everything here only? We need to go to her hotel for checkout, Madhu reminded to distract him from Vegas talk. Bree smirked, looking at her. Charan smiled and opened the door of his car for the ladies. Madhu and Bree sat in the back seat and Charan drove the car to the 5-star hotel where Bree stayed in the previous night. On the way, Bree slowly moved her hand to Madhu and held her hand. Charan couldn't stop talking to Bree throughout the way. Madhu noticed that he was overexcited to meet a beautiful friend of his sister. But he wasn't aware that friend is a soulmate of his sister. They went to the hotel room and packed all the stuff of Bree and checked out from there and drove back home. Madhu's home was never free from guests or functions. The entire day they were occupied by one or the other relative attending them and watching beautiful foreigner. The loving couple didn't get free time to talk even for a minute. Later in the evening, Bree started feeling sleepy, but she didn't express it to the enthusiastic family of Madhu. But Madhu noticed her tiredness as it was jet lag. She excused her from everyone and took her to her room by asking the waiter to serve her food in her room. She told her to sleep after having food. Bree felt it odd to sleep in the middle of those ceremonies, but the friendly family of Madhu understood her and asked her to feel free and go to sleep. Madhu accompanied her in her room. Bree changed her clothes and got fresh. She ate little food while talking to her love. They spoke about Bree's mother's health and all that happened back in few days. Bree told her about the surprise visit to India she had planned way before, but couldn't go ahead with that due to all that happened. But her mother had insisted her to go to India as she couldn't see her in pain. Madhu loved hearing all the sweet talks of Bree. She was listening her with shining eyes. It was 8 p.m. already in their talk. Madhu asked her to rest. Immediately after lying on the bed, Bree fell asleep. Madhu sat on the bed near her head, caressing her face, smiling at her. She couldn't believe Bree was there with her, on her bed, in India. She felt it was all a dream and she's gonna wake up now. She pinched herself hard and confirmed it wasn't a dream. It was a dream come true. She blushed. She realized how much Bree loves her. She came all the way from the USA just for her. Madhu smiled, staring at her, innocent sleep. She kissed her forehead. Ever since they married, she never missed a chance of watching Bree in sleep. She stayed in the room, gazing at her sleeping beauty. She didn't feel like going back downstairs in that crowd of her family, where all her loved ones were busy and others talk only about her marriage immediately after seeing her. Perhaps she felt to spend all the night watching her darling and be there for her in case she needs anything. After an hour, there was a knock on the door. Madhu got down from the bed, went to the door. It was Charan. He came to call Madhu downstairs for dinner, and he wanted to take a glance of Bree. But Madhu wasn't feeling like going away from Bree. She requested Charan to ask the waiter to send her food up in the room. Charan wasn't paying attention to her request. He was busy staring at Bree, who was sleeping on Madhu's bed. Madhu was observing the changes in Charan's behavior since morning. She patted him and asked whether he heard her. He leaned on the door, staring at Bree, sighing. Your friend is so attractive, yaar. I never imagined she would be this beautiful by seeing her pictures on your Instagram. Besides, being an American, she knows so much about our culture, and she's so kind and well-behaved. She is the center of attraction today at home. Giggling, nobody is talking about our poor groom today. She has taken my heart away at the first sight, Charan softly said to his sister. Madhu got annoyed hearing all that from him. She thought ever since she remembered, why the hell Charan always loves only those things that she loves. Are you done speaking? Now could you please ask the waiter to send food for me here? Madhu mocked, placing her hands on her waist. So rude. I'm falling in love here and you're talking like this to me? Charan said. Falling in love? Madhu's mouth got wide open after hearing that. Yes, I'm falling in love with your friend, Charan said stylishly, widening his arms like a hero. Charan was a 6 feet tall, handsome man. Many girls in Madhu's batch liked him, but he never paid attention to any girls. Too bad, but she is not my friend. She is, Madhu uttered in anger and paused, holding her mouth before revealing the truth. Charan stared at her weird behavior. He thought why his sister is not happy on hearing his heartfelt. Then he asked, squeezing his eyebrows. She is my best friend, Madhu said with pauses. So many pauses? Charan asked, squeezing his eyes. Yeah, I'm tired. I want to sleep. Please ask the waiter to send me food and I want to sleep, Madhu said, ignoring his stare, looking down. Ever since you came back, you have changed so much. Either you are in your room or busy with your phone, and today you are ignoring me. Something is fishy, Charan said. Nothing like that, bro. I'm just tired of those marriage talks down there. And this crowd is like, sorry, please understand. She requested, making faces, holding his hands. He didn't say anything and walked out of her room. He felt it all weird. This was all new Madhu to him. Madhu took a breath of relief when Charan left. She changed her clothes and got fresh until the waiter knocked on the door. She didn't feel like eating anything as she was worried about Charan's bouncing feelings in the middle of her love story. She took a few bites and sent all the food back. Lying on the bed, she glanced at Bree. Her cute face vanished all the stress inside her. She kissed her forehead and cuddled in her arms after a long time and fell asleep in no time. Bree's eyes opened in the morning at 7. She looked around, wondering where she was. Realizing she was in Madhu's home, she sighed. She searched for Madhu, but she wasn't in the room. She got up from the bed and saw the time on her mobile. She wondered how come she slept 11 hours. She saw the note below the mobile, which was written in beautiful handwriting of Madhu. Good morning, Munchkin. Sorry, I'm going along with the family to the temple. It was early in the morning, so didn't wake you up. Not carrying mobile there as it is not allowed there, but I will be back in a couple of hours. Bree smiled reading that. She looked here and there and thought of going out of the room only after getting fresh. Taking her brush and clothes, she went inside the bathroom. Madhu got up at 5 when her aunt knocked on the door. They all had to go to the temple at 6 in the morning for yagna, which was suggested by priest. She took a bath and got ready without making any noise to spoil the sleep of her love. She was wearing a pink lehenga dress for the occasion. She thought, let Bree sleep as long as she wants. Once she comes back from the temple, she will take care of her. Everyone in the family was leaving for the temple. She instructed the servants to take care of Bree's tea and breakfast the way she likes. She made a note which Bree read. Bree got ready wearing a white long shirt and blue trousers. She didn't have any traditional dress for the wedding. She thought she would buy something that day. After taking a bath, Bree was hungry but felt odd, asking for breakfast in all strangers. She opened the door and the waiter was walking towards the room carrying her tray of breakfast. She was happy seeing the food. She thanked him when he was leaving and the waiter said, Madhu ma'am had told us to get your breakfast by 8 in the morning. Bree smiled, wondering how come Madhu knew that I would be ready and hungry by 8. She asked him, do you have any idea when she will be back? She said she will try to come back as soon as possible, he said, and waited on the door until Bree finished her breakfast. Madhu was not finding peace in the most peaceful place, as all her attention was towards Bree. She was feeling bad for leaving Bree alone in her home on the very first day of her visit there. She tried to speak to Charan to ask how long that puja would take, but he was going away by making excuses. She understood he was annoyed with her for her behavior in the previous night. She thought she would make it up to him later. She went to one of her aunts and asked her permission to go home, making an excuse for Bree. But her aunt told her that they need all the family members there till the end, as it was a family puja. Her guilt of leaving Bree alone was disturbing her. She wished God that the priest should finish everything soon. Soon, the puja was finished and instantly Madhu ran towards the car and asked the driver to drive home as fast as possible. But her father called her back and asked her to take 3 older people along with her as they need to rush home soon. She looked at those old ladies. They took an era to walk till the car from the temple gate. She uttered, "Oh," in irritation looking at those old ladies. Charan looked at her giggling and thought she was never this impatient. Something is wrong with her. He took a ride on his bullet before her and stood with an angry face. "Please, Ra, take me home fast," she requested him. "You better be sorry for not understanding my feelings yesterday," he said with a pout. Madhu took a long breath. She thought about how to make this guy understand. She sighed again and said, "Okay, sorry." "Will you help me with Brianna?" he asked. "What the?" She looked at him in anger. In the meanwhile, the ladies came to the car and she opened the door of the car for those ladies and banged the door in anger, looking at Charan, and sat on the front seat of the car without answering him and asked the driver to start. Charan was amazed by her strange behavior. He kicked his bullet and his elder brother Mohan called him and gave him a job to finish. Charan was also eager to go back home and see Bree, but he obeyed his brother's order and rode the bullet. After finishing her breakfast, Bree came out of the room. She saw the fully decorated house from the gallery. There were flowers everywhere. The scent of those flowers was spread in every corner of the house. Some of the servants were cleaning the empty house. She got down and walked to the door. There was a large lawn and garden beside the bungalow, which she didn't notice the previous day. The entire bungalow was decorated with flowers. All the servants greeted her, joining their hands with a smile. She also replied to them all, saying Namaste with a smile in the US accent. Meanwhile, one by one, all the cars started driving inside the bungalow. There were more than half a dozen of SUVs and a dozen of cars, which all accommodated in the large drive-through area of the bungalow. Madhu saw Bree in the garden from her car. Soon after getting down from the car, she ran to her. Bree saw her running towards her in that pink lehenga, and her heart melted.